The bunker walls shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling in thin streams, catching the emergency lights like dirty snow. Hana Kim held her twin babies closer to her chest, feeling their small hearts beating against her own. Minho and Jisoo were only 6 months old. They deserved better than this cold concrete tomb. Outside, the sounds of destruction continued. The alien warships had been bombarding the colony for 3 days now. The evacuation ships never made it off the ground. The defense systems failed within the first hour. Now 12 survivors huddled in this forgotten maintenance bunker, waiting for the inevitable. Hana looked around at the others. Old Daehyun sat against the wall, his breathing shallow and painful. The explosion that killed his wife had broken several of his ribs. Beside him, young Hyejin rocked back and forth, her eyes empty. She had stopped speaking yesterday. The others sat in small clusters, some praying, some simply staring at nothing. The aliens were called the Vel. They had appeared in orbit without warning, ignoring all attempts at communication. Their ships were massive and dark, like metal insects against the stars. When they began their attack, people finally understood. The Vel were not here to talk. They were here to harvest. Hana had been at the xenobiology lab when the first bombs fell. She ran through burning streets to reach the shelter where she had left her babies. The shelter took a direct hit just as she arrived. She pulled her twins from the rubble, their caretaker dead beside them. Since then, she had not stopped moving, not stopped protecting them. They found this bunker by accident, hidden beneath an old water treatment facility. The door was rusted, the systems barely functional. But it was deep and it was quiet. For 3 days they had hidden here while the world ended above them. Hana's communicator had died on the second day. She did not know if anyone else had survived. The colony had housed 3,000 people. Now those people were gone, turned into biological material for whatever purposes the Vel required. Minho started to whimper. He could sense her fear, her desperation. Hana gently bounced him, trying to soothe him. Jisoo remained asleep, her tiny fist curled against her brother's arm. Even now they comforted each other. Another explosion, closer this time. The lights flickered. Someone screamed. Hana felt the bunker shift slightly and her stomach dropped. They were running out of time. She thought about her grandmother then, the old woman who had raised her after her parents died. Grandmother who sang old songs in Korean, songs from Earth that had traveled across the stars with their family, songs about mountains and rivers and peaceful nights. Hana's throat was dry. Her lips were cracked. But she began to sing anyway, softly at first, then stronger. Jajang jajang uri agi, jam jal jara, guyon ne agi. Sleep, sleep, my little baby, sleep well, my precious baby. The others in the bunker turned to look at her, some with pity, some with understanding. What else could they do but comfort their children in these final moments? As Hana sang, she felt something strange, a warmth spreading through her chest, different from the fear that had lived there for days. The air around her seemed to shimmer, though she told herself it was just exhaustion playing tricks with her eyes. Beneath the bunker, buried under meters of rock and forgotten by time, ancient machinery stirred to life. It had waited for millions of years, dormant and patient. It was designed to detect something specific, something rare, a frequency of emotion that few species ever achieved. Pure, desperate, unconditional love. The machinery did not understand words. It did not hear the melody of Hana's lullaby, but it felt the emotion behind it. A mother's love, fierce and total. A willingness to die if it meant her children might somehow live. A rage at the universe for allowing this to happen. A grief so profound it could shatter worlds. The ancient beacon activated. It sent out a signal that traveled through dimensions humans had never discovered, across distances that defied normal physics. The signal carried Hana's emotion, raw and unfiltered, spreading through quantum space like ripples on an infinite ocean. Hana did not know any of this. She only knew that she was singing and her babies were calm, and maybe that was enough. Maybe in these last moments, giving them peace was all she could do. The bunker shook violently. Somewhere above, metal groaned and concrete crumbled. The Vel were getting closer, methodically clearing each sector. Soon they would find this bunker. Soon it would be over. Daehyun coughed, a wet, painful sound. "That's a beautiful song," he whispered. "My mother used to sing something like that." Hana nodded, tears finally breaking free. "It's very old. From Earth. From before we went to the stars. It's a good way to go, Hyejin suddenly spoke, her voice hoarse from disuse, listening to something beautiful. Something that reminds us we were human. Others began to hum along, those who knew the melody, even those who did not join in with their own songs, their own prayers. The bunker filled with the sound of the dying honoring the life they had lived. Hana sang louder, her voice cracking but determined. She sang for her babies. She sang for her grandmother. She sang for humanity itself, scattered across 100 worlds, never knowing what happened to this small colony on the edge of nowhere. She sang, and the ancient beacon broadcast her song to the stars. Across the galaxy, in ships and stations and colonies, humans stopped what they were doing. They felt something they could not name. A pull, an urgency, a call that bypassed logic and spoke directly to something deeper. Captain Doyen Park stood on the bridge of his frigate, staring at the navigation display. His crew looked at him with confusion as he suddenly ordered a course change. He could not explain why. He only knew that somewhere someone needed help. Someone was singing, and the song was breaking his heart. 17 human ships, scattered across dozens of light years, all turned toward the same point in space. Their captains could not explain their actions. Their crews thought they had gone mad. But the ships moved anyway, pulled by something stronger than orders or logic. They moved toward a mother's lullaby, broadcast on frequencies that should not exist. They moved toward Hana Kim, who sang in the darkness, not knowing that the stars had heard her, that they were answering. Captain Doyen Park had been hauling mining equipment to the frontier stations when it happened. One moment he was reviewing supply manifests, the next he felt like someone had reached into his chest and grabbed his heart. Not with pain, but with need. Desperate, terrible need. His hand moved to the navigation console before his brain caught up. Change course. New coordinates incoming. His first officer, Borum, stared at him. Captain? Those coordinates point to nothing. Empty space near the outer colonies. We have a delivery schedule. Doyen's fingers trembled as he entered the coordinates. He did not know where they came from. They simply appeared in his mind, clear as day. I know. Change course anyway. Sir, are you feeling all right? No, Doyen admitted. But we're going anyway. Now. Across human space, similar scenes played out on 16 other ships. A military patrol cruiser suddenly broke formation. A diplomatic vessel ignored hails from the station it was approaching. A massive cargo hauler dropped its shipment containers and accelerated to maximum speed. Every captain felt it. Every human on those ships felt it, though the non-human crew members sensed nothing unusual. It was a feeling beyond words, like hearing a child crying in the dark. Like knowing someone was drowning and your legs were already running before your mind decided to help. The feeling was worse for those who had children. Worse still for mothers. Commander Seonmi Han of the patrol cruiser had 3 daughters back home. When the feeling hit, she nearly collapsed. Her tactical officer caught her arm. Commander? What's wrong? Seonmi steadied herself, but her hands would not stop shaking. I don't know. But someone needs help. Someone with children. She looked at her crew, seeing the same confusion and certainty in their eyes. Plot a course to these coordinates. Maximum speed. That's in Vel-controlled space, the tactical officer warned. I don't care. As the ships raced through space, something impossible happened. The universe bent. Scientists would spend years trying to explain it later. Space folded in ways that violated known physics. Wormholes appeared and disappeared in microseconds. Ships that should have needed weeks to reach their destination arrived in hours. The ancient beacon was not just calling to them, it was helping them answer. Doyen's ship arrived first. His sensors immediately picked up the devastation. The colony was gone, reduced to craters and debris. 40 Vel warships orbited the planet in a standard harvesting formation. His single frigate had no chance against that fleet. He prepared to attack anyway. One by one, the other ships emerged from impossible wormholes. A mining hauler appeared beside him, its massive bulk dwarfing his frigate. Then the patrol cruiser, weapons already charging. A medical transport. A luxury liner that had been heading to a pleasure station. A heavy cargo ship. More kept coming, 16 in total. Doyen opened a channel to all human ships. This is Captain Park of the Taewon's Fury. I don't know why we're here. I just know we have to be. Anyone disagree? Silence for a moment. Then Commander Seonmi spoke. I'm a mother of 3. Someone down there is protecting their children. I'm not leaving. Mining hauler Busan here, another voice crackled. Got a crew of 47. We're not fighters, but we're not running. More voices chimed in. Young voices, old voices, scared voices that spoke anyway. Every human ship committed to staying. The Vel noticed them eventually. A communication came through, translated by standard galactic protocols. The voice was cold and mechanical. Unidentified human vessels. This is Harvester Prime Kiltherin. You are entering a designated harvest zone. Depart immediately or be destroyed. Doyen thought about the feeling in his chest. The desperate need. The song he could almost hear just at the edge of perception. A lullaby for children who might already be dead. He opened a channel to the Vel fleet. Negative. There's a mother singing to her children down there. We're not leaving. Kiltherin processed this response. Humans were known to the Vel. They were pragmatic creatures focused on survival and profit. They avoided conflicts they could not win. This behavior did not match the profile. Clarify your statement. One human female's survival does not justify 17 vessels risking destruction. Your response is not logical. Logic? Doyen laughed, though there was no humor in it. You're right. It's not logical. But we're still not leaving. On the Vel command ship, Kiltherin consulted with its tactical computers. 17 human ships, most civilian, against 40 Vel warships. Projected human survival rate, 0%. Projected Vel casualties, minimal. The humans had to know this. Yet they remained. This is your final warning. Depart or face termination. Commander Xianmi powered up her weapons.
Captain Park, I don't see any better way to die.
Do you? Doyen checked his own weapon systems. His ship was designed to haul cargo, not fight wars. He had 1 missile battery and light shields. Against the Vel, he might last 30 seconds. No better way, he agreed. All ships attack pattern random. Don't try to coordinate. Just make them work for every kill. The human fleet accelerated toward the Vel formation. It was suicide. Every person on every ship knew it. But they went anyway, pulled by something deeper than survival instinct. The Vel opened fire. Space lit up with energy beams and missiles. The luxury liner took a direct hit and exploded, killing all 200 passengers instantly. The medical transport tried to evade but was too slow. It broke apart, scattering debris and bodies, but the humans did not retreat. The mining hauler rammed directly into a Vel cruiser, its massive bulk crushing the alien ship's shields. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire. The cargo ship launched its entire payload of industrial equipment at another Vel warship, destroying engines and life support. Doyen fired his missiles and watched them splash harmlessly against shields. A Vel destroyer lined up to return fire. He was dead, he knew it, but at least he tried. An energy beam from the patrol cruiser hit the destroyer first, buying him seconds. You're welcome, Captain Park. Thanks, Commander. They fought like cornered animals. No strategy, no coordination, just desperate ferocity. The Vel, trained for calculated warfare, found themselves confused. 3 more human ships died, but they took 4 Vel vessels with them. On the planet's surface, in the bunker, Hana still sang. Her voice was failing now, barely a whisper. But she would not stop. Could not stop. Above her, the sounds of battle shook the ground. Sergeant Taejin Lee was on one of the ships, a military transport that had been returning from a training mission. When the call came, he felt it in his bones. He was a soldier. He understood duty. But this was different. This was need. His ship broke through the Vel blockade, taking heavy damage. "We're going down!" the pilot shouted. "Brace for impact." They crashed on the planet's surface, 3 kilometers from the bunker. Taejin pulled himself from the wreckage, checking his squad. 8 had survived. 8 soldiers with light weapons against an entire Vel ground force. "Sergeant, what are our orders?" Taejin checked his scanner. He could see the bunker location, marked somehow in his mind like a beacon. He could feel people there, feel their fear, feel the lullaby that called him across the stars. "We're going to that bunker, and nothing is going to stop us." His soldiers looked at him, then nodded. They did not question. They felt it too. They began to move through the ruins toward a mother still singing in the dark. Sergeant Taejin Lee had been a soldier for 12 years. He had seen combat on 4 different worlds. He knew how to assess tactical situations, calculate risks, follow orders. Everything he knew told him this mission was suicide. He moved forward anyway. His squad of 8 moved through the ruined colony like ghosts. Fires still burned in collapsed buildings. Bodies lay in the streets, both human and alien. The Vel ground forces had moved through here like a plague, efficient and merciless. Private G1 spotted movement ahead. Contact. 3 Vel harvesters, 200 meters. The Vel harvesters were not soldiers. They were workers collecting biological material. But they were still dangerous, armed with cutting tools that could slice through armor. They moved on 6 legs, their bodies covered in dark plating. Take them quiet, Tejan ordered, his squad spread out. They had trained for this. Urban combat against superior numbers. Corporal Minjae went high, climbing the ruins of a collapsed building. Private Kyungsu flanked left. The rest waited for Taijin's signal. He raised his fist. Dropped it. They struck simultaneously. Plasma rounds took down 2 harvesters before they could react. The third one screeched and charged at Private Jiwon, its cutting arms extended. She rolled under the strike and planted an explosive charge on its underside. The explosion threw her back, but the harvester fell in pieces. Everyone good, Taijin called. Bruised but functional, Jiwon replied, accepting Kyungsu's hand to stand. They kept moving. The bunker was still 2 kilometers away. Taijin could feel it, that pull in his chest growing stronger with each step. He could almost hear the lullaby now, soft and desperate. Above them, the space battle continued. Captain Doyen's frigate had lost shields and was running on emergency power. He had 4 missiles left and no realistic hope of survival. The Vel had lost 16 ships but still outnumbered the humans 2-1. Captain, we should retreat, Borum urged. We've done what we could. Doyen looked at his tactical display. 3 human ships left in fighting condition, but the feeling in his chest had not lessened. If anything, it was stronger now. Not yet. Keep firing. Commander Sionmi's patrol cruiser swept past, its hull breached in a dozen places. Park, I'm going to ram the command ship. Cover me. Sionmi, no. You still have crew. They volunteered. All of them. Her voice was calm, accepting. Tell my daughters I love them. Tell them their mother answered when someone needed help. Her ship accelerated directly toward the massive Vel command vessel. Point defense systems shredded her hull, but she kept going. The impact was tremendous. The patrol cruiser disappeared in a flash of energy, but the command ship's shields collapsed. It began listing, venting atmosphere. Doyen fired his last missiles into the wounded vessel. They struck deep, finding critical systems. The command ship broke apart, taking Harvester Prime Kiltharan with it. On the planet, Taijin's squad ran into real resistance. A full Vel combat unit, 20 soldiers with heavy weapons. They had no choice but to engage. The first exchange of fire killed Private Deho. He died instantly, a plasma bolt through his chest. Corporal Minjae screamed and charged forward, firing wildly. Taijin pulled her back before she joined Deho in death. We can't win this straight fight, he said. We need to go around. There is no around, Minjae shouted. They're between us and the bunker. Taijin looked at the ruins around them. An old manufacturing complex half collapsed. Chemical storage tanks. Industrial equipment scattered everywhere. An idea formed, reckless and desperate. Jiwon Kyungsu created a distraction on the left flank. Everyone else with me, they split up. Jiwon and Kyungsu opened fire, drawing the Vel's attention. Taijin led the others through the manufacturing complex. He found what he was looking for, a massive coolant tank, still pressurized. Minjae, can you overload that regulator? She looked at it, understanding dawning. Yeah, but it'll take 2 minutes. And when it blows, everything within 50 meters dies. Do it. We'll keep them busy. The next 2 minutes were the longest of Taijin's life. They fought from cover to cover, trading fire with Vel soldiers who were better armed and better armored. Private Young-ho took a hit to the leg and kept fighting. Sergeant Taijin's own armor cracked under a near miss. Done, Minjae shouted. 30 seconds. Fall back. Everyone fall back, they ran. The Vel, sensing weakness, pushed forward. That was their mistake. The coolant tank exploded with the force of a bomb. Superheated chemicals sprayed in all directions. The Vel soldiers died instantly, their armor unable to protect them from the industrial catastrophe. When the smoke cleared, only 7 of Taijin's squad remained standing. They were wounded, exhausted, low on ammunition. But the path to the bunker was clear. They found the bunker entrance buried under rubble. It took precious minutes to clear it. Every second, Taijin expected more Vel to arrive. Every second, the lullaby in his mind grew clearer. Minjae finally pried open the door. It's open. They descended into darkness. Emergency lights flickered weakly. At the bottom of the stairs, they found the survivors, 12 people huddled in the cold and dark. An old man with broken ribs, a young woman with empty eyes, others who looked like they had already died inside. And there, in the center, a woman holding 2 babies. She was still singing, though her voice was barely a whisper. Her eyes were closed. Tears ran down her cheeks. Taejin approached slowly, not wanting to frighten her. "Ma'am, Hana Kim?" Hana's eyes opened. She looked at him with disbelief. "You're human. You're really human." "Yes, ma'am." "How? How did you find us?" Taejin did not know how to answer. How could he explain something he did not understand himself? "We heard you. Across the stars somehow we heard you singing." Hana looked down at her babies. Minhyo and Jisoo were awake now, looking at the strangers with wide eyes. "I was singing to my children, just trying to give them peace before the end." "It gave us more than peace," Taejin said. "It gave us purpose. 17 ships came. Dozens of people died getting us here." He extended his hand. "But we're here now, and we're taking you home." Hana tried to stand, but her legs gave out. She had not eaten in 2 days, had not slept. Taejin caught her gently, taking care not to disturb the babies. "I've got you. Corporal Minjae, help the others. We're evacuating everyone." As they prepared to leave, something strange happened. The bunker's old computer system suddenly activated. Lights came on, brighter than before. A section of the floor slid open, revealing stairs leading deeper underground. "What is that?" Jiwon asked. Taejin stared at the opening. Something down there was calling to him. Different from the lullaby, but just as compelling. "I don't know, but I think we need to find out." He turned to his squad. "Get everyone to the surface. Call for extraction. I'm going down there. Alone? Sergeant, that's suicide. Everything we've done today has been suicide. This is just one more impossible thing." He looked at Hana and her babies. "Get them to safety." "That's an order." Minjae hesitated, then nodded. "Don't die down there, Sergeant." "I'll try my best." Taejin descended into the ancient structure alone. The stairs went deep, far deeper than any bunker needed to go. The walls changed from concrete to something else, some material that seemed to absorb light. Old technology, older than human civilization. At the bottom he found a chamber, and in that chamber, floating in the air, was a crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Images played across its surface, showing things Taejin could not fully comprehend. Ancient beings, vast civilizations, technology that made human science look like cave drawings. The crystal spoke directly into his mind. No words, just pure information. It told him about the architects, about their test, about humanity's unique response to emotional distress. It showed him weapons, shields, technology beyond imagination. It offered him power, but there was a cost. Accepting the architect gift would mark humanity forever. They would become targets. They would have responsibilities. They would never be able to go back to being just another species among thousands. Taejin thought about Hana, singing to her children in the dark. He thought about Captain Doyen fighting impossible odds. He thought about Commander Seonmi, sacrificing herself for people she had never met. He reached out and touched the crystal. The power burned through him like fire. The power flooded through Taejin's body like liquid lightning. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the chamber. His armor began to change, shifting and flowing like mercury. New components grew from his weapons, technology integrating with human design in ways that should not be possible. Information poured into his mind. The history of the architects, a species that existed millions of years before humans learned to make fire. They had created the quantum emotional network as their final gift, a test for future species. Most races failed. They were too logical, too controlled. They filtered emotions through self-interest and calculation. Humans were different. Humans felt things raw and immediate. A mother's cry for help did not need to be analyzed. It demanded response, bypassing all logic and reason. That made humanity unique. That made them worthy. But worthiness came with burden. The architect technology only worked when powered by genuine emotion. It could not be faked, could not be forced. A soldier fighting to protect others would find the weapons responding to his intent. A soldier fighting for greed or glory would find them inert, useless metal. Taejin understood now. The architects had not left weapons. They had left tools that only worked for those who cared about something beyond themselves. The crystal's light faded. Taejin collapsed to his knees, gasping. His armor was completely different now, sleek and alive, responding to his thoughts. His rifle had transformed into something that looked grown rather than built. He climbed the stairs back to the bunker. His squad had evacuated everyone to the surface. Good. They were safe. But more Vel were coming. He could sense them, a skill the architect technology provided. 20 ground units converging on their position. Tajin emerged into daylight. His squad stared at him at his transformed equipment. Corporal Minjae's hand went to her weapon instinctively. "It's still me," Tajin said. "But we need to move. More enemies coming." "What happened down there?" Minjae demanded. "I'll explain later. Right now we need to get these people off this planet." The Vel arrived before they could move. 20 armored soldiers surrounded them, weapons raised. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, exhausted. It should have been over. Tajin stepped forward. The architect armor hummed with energy. He raised his transformed weapon, and it responded not to triggers or targeting systems, but to his intent. He wanted to protect these people. He needed to save them. That was enough. The weapon fired, but not normal plasma rounds. Pure energy, guided by thought, struck exactly where Tajin intended. One shot, one Vel soldier disabled. He moved with speed he did not know he had, the armor predicting threats before his conscious mind registered them. The Vel soldiers never stood a chance. Within minutes, all 20 lay on the ground, their weapons destroyed, their armor breached. Tajin had not killed them, just made them unable to fight. He could have killed them easily. But that was not what drove him. His squad stared in shocked silence. Private Jiwan finally spoke. "Sergeant, what are you?" "Still human," Tajin said. "Just upgraded. Come on, we need to signal the ships." In orbit, the battle had turned. Captain Doyen's frigate was the last human ship still fighting. His systems were failing, his hull breached in a dozen places. He had accepted death minutes ago. But the Vel suddenly broke formation, their ships retreating in disorder. "What's happening?" Borum asked, checking sensors. "Their command ship is gone. Their ground forces are reporting impossible resistance." Borum looked up from her console, confused. "Captain, something is very wrong." The Vel are terrified. Harvester 2nd Kilmaran, now commanding the Vel fleet, reviewed the battlefield data. 20 combat units disabled by a single human soldier. The tactical analysis made no sense. The power readings matched nothing in the database except ancient records locked away for thousands of years. Warnings about a precursor species called the Architects. Their technology was distinctive, recognizable, and it was appearing in human hands. Kilmaran made a decision instantly. All ships full retreat. Abandon the harvest. Leave this system immediately. The Vel fleet fled. They had lost nearly half their ships for nothing. But if humans had architect technology, staying meant extinction. Better to retreat and report to the Dominion. Captain Doyen watched the alien ships disappear into faster-than-light travel. He could barely believe it. "Did we just win?" "I think so, sir," Borum said, her voice shaking. "I think we actually won." Tajin's signal reached them. "This is Sergeant Lee to any human ships in orbit. We have survivors ready for extraction, 12 civilians, including 2 infants. We need immediate pickup." Doyen nearly wept with relief. The mother was alive. Her babies were alive. All of this insanity had not been for nothing. "This is Captain Park. We're coming down. Hold position." The frigate landed near the bunker ruins. Doyen himself came down the ramp to greet the survivors. He saw the old man with broken ribs, the young woman with trauma in her eyes. He saw the soldiers, battered and exhausted, and he saw her, the woman who had called them across the stars. She was small, thin from days without food, holding 2 babies who looked remarkably calm considering everything they had survived. Doyen approached her slowly. "Hana Kim?" She nodded. "Thank you. Thank you for coming. I don't understand how, but thank you." "I heard you singing," Doyen said simply. "We all did. 17 ships scattered across the galaxy. We all heard you and we came." Hana looked at her babies. "I was just trying to comfort them. I did not know anyone could hear." "Something heard," Tajin interjected, "something ancient. And it decided we were worth helping." He gestured to his transformed equipment. "It gave me this. Technology from a species that died millions of years ago. They left it as a test and humanity passed." Doyen studied the architect technology. Even without understanding it, he could see its power. "This changes everything." "Yes," Tajin agreed. "The Vel fled when they recognized what this was. But they will tell others. Soon everyone will know that humans have architect technology. Will that be a problem?" Probably. But we'll deal with it. Taijin looked at the survivors, at Hana still holding her twins protectively. We came here to save a mother and her children. We succeeded. Whatever comes next, we'll face it the same way. They loaded everyone onto the frigate. The medical officer checked the survivors, treated injuries, provided food and water. Hana sat in the cargo bay, finally allowing herself to believe they were safe. Her baby slept in her arms, exhausted but alive. Doyen sat beside her. I need to ask you something. That lullaby you were singing, do you know what it did? It activated something, Hana said. Something I could not see or understand. I felt it, though. Like the world was listening. The universe was listening, Doyen corrected. And it decided to help. That's never happened before, not in all of recorded history. You did something impossible. Hana looked at him with tired eyes. I was just being a mother, trying to comfort my children before we died. That was enough, Doyen said softly. That simple act, that pure emotion, it was enough to activate technology that has been dormant for millions of years. It was enough to pull 17 ships across impossible distances. It was enough to change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. I do not want to change anything, Hana whispered. I just want my babies to be safe. They are safe. And maybe now, because of what happened here, other children will be safer too. The frigate lifted off, climbing toward orbit. Behind them, the ruined colony disappeared below clouds. Hana watched through a viewport, thinking about everyone who had died. 3,000 people gone. She had survived only through impossible luck and even more impossible rescue. What happens now? She asked. Doyen did not have a good answer. Now we go home. We report what happened, and we try to understand what we've been given. In the cockpit, Borum was already receiving messages. Human command wanted details. Other colonies wanted to know if the threat was over. The Galactic Council was demanding explanations for human ships entering Vel space. And deeper in galactic space, the Vel Dominion was spreading the news. Humans had architect technology. Humanity, the upstart species barely 200 years into space travel, now possessed weapons and tools from the most advanced precursor civilization ever known. Some species viewed this with fear, some with jealousy, some with anger. The balance of power had shifted and nobody knew what that meant. But on that frigate in that cargo bay, Hana Kim simply held her babies and sang softly. The same lullaby that had called across the stars. The same song that had changed everything. She did not know about the political storms coming. She did not know about the wars her song would prevent, or the conflicts it would cause. She only knew her children were alive. For a mother, that was everything. 6 months had passed since the rescue at the colony. 6 months since Hana Kim sang her lullaby and changed humanity's fate forever. Now she sat in a conference room on Earth, surrounded by politicians and military officials who wanted to understand what happened. Counselor Min Seok Han led the inquiry. He was a careful man, methodical and precise. Dr. Kim, we have reviewed all available data from the incident. What we still do not understand is how you activated the architect beacon. Hana held Minho on her lap, while Jisoo played on the floor with building blocks. The babies were bigger now, healthy and happy. They did not remember the bunker, the fear, the darkness. Hana remembered enough for all of them. I was not trying to activate anything, she said for the 20th time. I was singing to my children. That is all. But the quantum emissions from the beacon specifically responded to emotional frequencies, another counselor pressed. It seems the architects designed their technology to detect genuine distress. Then I suppose I was genuinely distressed, Hana replied dryly. My children and I were about to die. Yes, I was distressed. Admiral Doyen Park, promoted after the battle, intervened. Counselors, we have been over this. Dr. Kim did nothing intentionally. The architect technology recognized something in her emotional state and responded. That is the nature of their design. The questioning continued for another hour. Hana answered the same questions again and again, her patience wearing thin. Finally, Minseok called for a break. Doyen found her in the corridor outside, leaning against the wall with her eyes closed. You doing okay? I am tired of being studied like a lab specimen, Hana admitted. They want to understand the science, but there is no science to understand. I was a mother trying to comfort her children. That is all. That simple act saved humanity, Hana. People want to understand it, replicate it, use it. You cannot replicate love, Hana said firmly. You cannot manufacture genuine emotion. That is the point. The architects knew that. They made technology that only works for those who truly care. Doyen nodded, which is why Sergeant Taejin Lee is now bonded to that equipment permanently. The technology recognized his intent to protect, his willingness to sacrifice. It made him into something more. Taejin was in a different facility undergoing tests. The architect armor had integrated with his body at a cellular level. He could not remove it, could not go back to being a normal human. He had become the first of a new kind of soldier, or perhaps not a soldier at all. Taejin had discovered something troubling about the architect technology. It would not work if his intent was aggressive or selfish. He could use it to protect, to defend, to save. But if he tried to use it to conquer or dominate, it became inert. The architects had built safeguards into their gift. They had given humanity power, but only power that could be used for protection. Across the galaxy, other species watched humanity's rise with concern. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. 17 species sent representatives to discuss the human problem. Ambassador Yoonji Cho represented Earth. She was young for an ambassador, only 42, but she had earned her position through skill and determination. Now she faced a council chamber filled with species who viewed humanity as a threat. The Thex delegate spoke first. The Thex were an old species, cautious and diplomatic. Ambassador Cho, the council requires clarification. Your species now possesses architect technology. This represents a significant shift in galactic power dynamics. We did not seek this technology, Yoonji replied calmly. It was given to us by the architects themselves through their ancient beacon. Given because one human activated an emotional quantum frequency, the Vel representative spat. The Vel had suffered greatly from the incident, losing ships and reputation. A frequency that only humans seem capable of triggering. Is that our fault? Yoonji asked. Should we apologize for caring about our children? You should share the technology, the Kelran delegate interjected. Kelrans were traitors, always looking for advantage. Hoarding such power benefits no one. The technology cannot be shared, Yoonji said. It only responds to specific emotional patterns. We have tried to transfer it to others. It does not work, this was true. Scientists had attempted to replicate the architect technology, to study it, to mass produce it. Every attempt failed. The technology was alive in a way, responding only to genuine emotion. It could not be forced, could not be faked. Then you must agree to restrictions, the Thex delegate insisted. Limits on how the technology can be used. Oversight by the council. Yoonji considered her response carefully. And if we refuse? The chamber went silent. The implication was clear. If humanity refused council oversight, they would face sanctions, blockades, possibly war. 17 species against one upstart race. Back on Earth, Doyen watched the council proceedings via live feed. He sat in a military strategy room with a dozen other commanders. They were analyzing scenarios, running simulations. The conclusions were grim. If the council moves against us militarily, we cannot win, General Sora Kim stated bluntly. Even with architect technology, we are too few, too scattered. They outnumber us 100 to 1. But they do not understand the technology, Doyen countered. They think it is just advanced weapons. They do not realize it only works for protection, for genuine care. That is a strategic advantage they cannot match. How so? Another commander asked. Doyen stood pacing. The council species fight for territory, resources, dominance. Their soldiers follow orders, fulfill missions. But what happens when facing an enemy who fights because they genuinely care about protecting something? An enemy whose weapons only work when driven by that care? They will lose, Taejin said from the doorway. He had arrived without anyone noticing, a side effect of the architect enhancements. I have tested this myself. When I fight to protect others, the technology responds instantly. When I tried to attack a target in training, just following orders without emotional connection, the weapons did nothing. The commanders studied him. Taejin looked different now. The armor part of him in ways that went beyond physical. His eyes had changed too, seeing things others could not. Threats, intentions, emotional states. So we can only fight defensive wars, General Sora concluded. We cannot conquer, cannot expand through force. Exactly, Taejin agreed. The architects knew what they were doing. They gave us power, but only power that aligns with protection and care. We cannot use it for evil because it simply will not work. That is a weakness, one commander argued. No. Hana's voice came from the doorway. She had brought her children to the meeting, tired of being separated from them. It is our strength. The other species do not understand that yet. They think we are weak because we care, because we respond to emotion rather than pure logic. But that caring is what gave us this technology in the first place. She walked into the room, Minho balanced on her hip. The architects tested countless species over millions of years. Do you know how many passed their test before us? None. Zero. Because every other species filters emotion through self-interest. They hear a cry for help and calculate whether helping benefits them. Humans hear a cry for help and respond before thinking. That seems inefficient, General Sora observed. Perhaps, Hana agreed. But it is also what makes us unique. 17 ships came to save me and my children. Dozens of people died making that happen. By any logical calculation, it was foolish. But those people came anyway, pulled by something deeper than logic. Doyen understood what she was saying. You think the other species cannot win against us because they do not understand what drives us. I know they cannot, Hana said firmly. Because their weapons are just tools. Our weapons are extensions of our care, our need to protect. When they fight us, they fight against people who genuinely care about what they are defending. That makes all the difference. In the Galactic Council, the debate continued. Species argued about sanctions, about oversight, about control. Ambassador Yunji listened quietly, letting them exhaust themselves with discussion. Finally, she stood. The Council seems to believe humanity must be controlled, that our technology makes us dangerous. You are correct. We are dangerous, but not in the way you think. She activated a holographic display. 6 months ago, a human mother sang to her children. That song activated technology that had been dormant for millions of years. Why? Because the architects built their test specifically to find a species capable of genuine, selfless care. The display showed images from the rescue. Ships arriving, fighting impossible odds. Commander Sianmi ramming the Vel command vessel. Sergeant Tajin fighting through enemy forces to reach the bunker. We are dangerous because we care, Yunji continued. Because we will sacrifice everything for those who cannot protect themselves. The architects recognized this quality in humanity and deemed us worthy. If the Council has a problem with that, take it up with them. The architects are dead, the Vel representative snarled. Their technology is not, Yunji shot back, and it chose us. If you want to fight us over that choice, go ahead, but understand what you are fighting. You are fighting a species that crossed impossible distances to save a mother and 2 babies. A species that died in droves for people they never met. Ask yourselves, is that a species you want as an enemy? The chamber fell silent. The council members exchanged glances, uncertain. They had expected Huma. The assassination attempt came 3 weeks after the council meeting. Hana was walking through a public park with Minho and Jisoo when the gunman struck. He was Kelran, hired by a coalition of species who feared humanity's growing influence. The shot was perfectly aimed. It should have killed Hana instantly. Instead, Sergeant Tajin Lee appeared from nowhere, moving faster than physics should allow. The architect armor detected the threat before conscious thought, positioning him between Hana and the bullet. The projectile splashed harmlessly against his shield. Tajin disarmed the assassin in seconds non-lethally. The Kelran was arrested, interrogated. He revealed a plot involving multiple species, a plan to eliminate Hana and her children as symbols of humanity's unearned advantage. The assassination attempt changed everything. Public opinion shifted. Many humans who had been uncertain about their new role now understood the stakes. Other species were willing to kill children to prevent humanity's rise. Admiral Doyen convened an emergency military council. The attack proves we cannot rely on diplomacy alone. We need to demonstrate strength. But our strength only works for defense, General Sora reminded him. We cannot go on the offensive. Then we make sure everyone knows that attacking us is suicide, Doyen replied. We create a defensive perimeter that is absolutely impenetrable. They began construction of shield stations around human colonies, powered by architect technology. The shields were impossible to breach by conventional weapons. More importantly, they demonstrated humanity's capability without appearing aggressive. But tensions continued to rise. A coalition formed officially. 17 species united against human expansion. They called themselves the Preservation Alliance, claiming they existed to preserve galactic balance. In reality, they wanted to contain humanity before it became too powerful. Ambassador Yunji faced increasing pressure. The Preservation Alliance demanded humanity limit its fleet size, restrict its colonies, submit to inspections. She refused every demand, knowing that showing weakness would invite more aggression. The standoff reached breaking point when the Preservation Alliance deployed a blockade around 3 human colonies. No ships could enter or leave. Food supplies began running low. Medical shipments were stopped. Hana watched the news with growing horror. People were suffering because of her, because she had sung a lullaby and activated ancient technology. Guilt pressed down on her like a physical weight. "This is my fault," she told Doyen during a private meeting. "If I had not activated that beacon, none of this would be happening. If you had not activated that beacon, you and your children would be dead," Doyen replied firmly. "Along with everyone else in that bunker. Hana, you did not cause this. Fear and jealousy caused this. That is on them, not you. But those people in the colonies, they are starving because of what I did. They are starving because the Preservation Alliance chose to blockade them. Big difference." Doyen leaned forward, his voice intense. "Hana, you need to understand something. You are a symbol now, a symbol of humanity's caring, our willingness to respond to those in need. If you break, if you accept guilt for their actions, then everything we are trying to build falls apart." Hana looked at her children. Minho and Jisoo were playing with blocks, oblivious to galactic politics. So innocent, so pure. "I never wanted to be a symbol. I just wanted to be a mother. You are a mother, the best kind, and that is exactly why you matter so much." Doyen stood. "The Preservation Alliance thinks they can starve us into submission. They think we will abandon our principles to save lives. They do not understand that saving lives is our principle. What are you planning? We are going to break the blockade. Non-violently if possible, but we are not leaving those people to suffer." The fleet assembled quietly, 20 human ships all equipped with architect technology. They approached the blockade around the first colony, transmitting peaceful intentions. The Preservation Alliance fleet outnumbered them 5-1. The Alliance commander issued a warning. "Turn back or be destroyed. This blockade is lawful under Preservation Alliance authority." Captain Ji-hoon commanded the lead human ship. He was young, only 28, but he had fought in the rescue 6 months ago. He understood what they were doing and why it mattered. "We are not turning back. People inside that blockade need supplies. We are delivering them. You will not be allowed to pass. Then you will have to stop us." The human fleet moved forward. The Alliance ships powered weapons. For a long moment, war hung in the balance. Then Ji-hoon did something unexpected. He opened a broadcast to all ships, Alliance and human alike. "I want to tell you a story," he began. 6 months ago, a woman sang to her children while waiting to die. She did not know anyone could hear. She just wanted to comfort her babies in their last moments. But we heard. Across impossible distances we heard. And we came. He displayed images from the rescue, the burning colony, the desperate fight. Commander Seonmi's sacrifice, Hana holding her twins in the bunker. We came because we are human, because we hear suffering and respond. Not for gain, not for territory. Because it is right. Ji-hoon's voice carried emotion, raw and real. Now you are making people suffer. Not through war, not through violence. Through blockade, you are starving children because you fear their parents. Is that who you want to be? In the Alliance fleet, crews watched the transmission. Some were moved, some uncertain. The quantum emotional network, still active from the ancient beacon, carried Ji-hoon's sincerity across space. The Alliance soldiers felt it. Felt his genuine belief in what he was saying. Several Alliance ships powered down weapons. Not all, but enough. Enough to create gaps in the formation. "We are moving forward," Ji-hoon announced. "We will not fire unless fired upon. We are here to deliver food and medicine." Nothing more. The human fleet advanced. Alliance ships tried to block them, but more and more ships were hesitating. Their crews were questioning orders, feeling the wrongness of starving civilians. One Alliance captain, a Thex named Valorium, made a decision. He moved his ship aside, opening a gap. "Let them through. This is not what we signed up for." Other captains followed. The blockade dissolved. Not through force, but through conscience. The human ships delivered their supplies and departed peacefully. The Preservation Alliance fell into chaos. Half the member species withdrew, unwilling to participate in starving civilians. The remaining species doubled down, becoming more extreme in their rhetoric. On Earth, Counselor Minseok met with Hana again. The assassination attempt on you has become a rallying point. Many humans want revenge, want to strike back at the species involved. No, Hana said immediately. That is not what this is about. People are angry. They see you as a victim, your children as targets. They want justice. Justice is not the same as revenge. Hana stood pacing. The architect technology only works when we care about protecting others. If we use it for vengeance, it will stop working. The architects built in safeguards specifically to prevent that. Minsuk nodded slowly. You are right. But the anger is real. People need an outlet. Then give them a better outlet. Show them that our strength comes from caring, not from hurting others. Hana picked up Minho, holding him close. I almost died. My children almost died, but we were saved because people cared. Now we need to care for others the same way. An idea formed. Hana proposed creating the Galactic Relief Initiative, a human-led organization dedicated to responding to disasters and emergencies across all species. Using architect technology, they could reach crisis zones quickly and provide help regardless of politics. The proposal gained support. Within weeks, the first relief ships launched. They carried food, medicine, rescue equipment. More importantly, they carried a message: humanity cares. The turning point came during a natural disaster on a Kelran colony. A volcanic eruption threatened to destroy the capital city. The Kelran government requested help from the Preservation Alliance. The alliance hesitated, debating protocols and costs. Human relief ships arrived within hours. They used architect shields to protect evacuation routes, deployed medical teams, rescued thousands from the ash and lava. They did not ask for payment or political concessions. They just helped. The Kelran people saw this. The same species that had tried to assassinate Hana Kim was now being saved by humans. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Public opinion shifted across the galaxy. More species began questioning the Preservation Alliance's narrative. If humans were so dangerous, why were they spending resources saving former enemies? If architect technology made them aggressive, why did they use it only for protection and rescue? The quantum emotional network began activating for others. Not easily, not consistently, but it happened. A Thex doctor, treating human and alien patients equally, suddenly felt the network open to her. She could sense her patients' pain, their fear, their hope. It made her a better healer. A Kelran merchant, moved by the human rescue of his people, found himself drawn to help others without calculating profit. The network responded to his genuine change of heart, granting him access to its emotional resonance. More followed. Slowly, painfully slowly, other species began learning what humanity knew instinctively. 5 years had passed since the day everything changed. Hana Kim stood at the entrance of the Galactic Emotional Network Initiative headquarters, watching ships arrive from a dozen different species. The building was new, built on Earth specifically to house this project. Its purpose was simple and impossible: teach the galaxy to feel. Inside, the first multi-species emotional resonance training class was beginning. 30 students from 15 different species sat in a circular chamber. Some looked eager, some skeptical, some terrified. All had volunteered to learn what humans seemed to do naturally. Hana walked to the center of the circle. She was older now, lines around her eyes from years of stress and responsibility, but she was still herself, still the mother who sang in the darkness. Welcome, she said simply. I know why you are here. You want to access the quantum emotional network. You want the power that comes with it. I am here to tell you that is the wrong reason to be here. The students shifted uncomfortably. A young Thex named Kalith raised her hand. Then why should we be here? Because you want to understand, Hana replied. Because you want to feel what others feel, to respond to their needs without calculating benefit. The power comes after. If you chase the power first, you will never achieve it. She gestured to the walls where images displayed humanity's journey, the rescue at the colony, the breaking of the blockade, the relief initiative's successes and failures. My species accessed the network by accident. I was not trying to achieve anything except comforting my children. That authenticity, that purity of intent is what the architects were looking for. Over the next weeks, Hana taught them, not through lectures or technical training, but through experience. She made them work in hospitals, feeling the suffering of patients. She sent them to disaster zones where they had to help without any reward. She put them in situations where calculation was useless and only genuine caring mattered. Many students failed. They could not let go of their cultural conditioning, their need to filter everything through self-interest. They dropped out disappointed but unchanged, but some succeeded. Kalith the Thex was one. She was working in a pediatric ward when it happened. A child was dying, screaming in pain, and the doctors had run out of options. Kalith held the child's hand not because she was supposed to, but because she could not bear to let the child die alone. The quantum network opened to her. She felt the child's fear, pain, and beneath it all, the simple desire for comfort. Kalith sang then, a Thex lullaby from her own childhood. The child calmed, the pain not gone but bearable. The child died peacefully minutes later. Kalith wept, not from sadness alone, but from the overwhelming experience of connection. She had felt another being's suffering, and responded from pure instinct. The network recognized this and granted her access. It hurts, she told Hana afterwards, feeling what they feel. How do humans bear it? We do not bear it easily, Hana admitted. But we bear it because the alternative is worse. Not feeling, not caring means being alone, truly alone. More students achieved breakthroughs. A Kelrin merchant named Torvin learned to sense when customers were struggling financially. Instead of exploiting them, he found himself offering help, extending credit, forgiving debts. The network opened to him during a transaction where he chose compassion over profit, and the experience changed him forever. Across the galaxy, others were learning too. Not in classes, but through life. The relief initiative's work inspired people. Seeing humans respond to disasters without asking for anything in return made others question their own assumptions. But resistance remained strong. The remnants of the Preservation Alliance, now calling themselves the Rationalist Coalition, argued that emotion-based decision-making was dangerous. They pointed to historical conflicts driven by feelings rather than logic. They are not entirely wrong, Admiral Doyen admitted during a strategy meeting. Emotion can be destructive. Unchecked anger, fear, hatred, these have caused terrible things. But the Architect Network does not amplify those emotions, Tejan interjected. He had become the head of Earth's defense forces, his architect armor now a symbol of humanity's protective role. It only responds to caring, to the desire to help. Negative emotions shut it down, which means it is a check against our worst impulses, General Sora concluded. If we try to use the technology for aggression, it stops working. That is a feature, not a bug. The real test came when the Vel Dominion, still bitter about their defeat 5 years ago, launched a surprise attack on a human mining colony. They used overwhelming force, hoping to prove that human technology had limits. They were wrong. The colony's defenders, equipped with architect technology, held against impossible odds. Not through superior firepower, but through absolute determination to protect the civilians sheltering behind them. Every shot fired was aimed with intent to defend, not destroy. Every shield raised was powered by the need to keep people safe. The Vel could not understand it. Their tactics designed to break enemy morale had no effect. The human defenders fought with a calm certainty that unnerved the Vel soldiers. They were not afraid because they were not fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for people they cared about. When relief ships arrived, they did not seek revenge. They rescued Vel survivors alongside human casualties, treating all wounded equally. This confused the Vel even more than the military defeat. One Vel soldier, injured and terrified, asked his human medic, "Why are you helping me?" "I tried to kill your people." The medic, a young woman named Sujin, replied simply, "Because you are hurt. That is reason enough." The soldier, whose name was Kel, could not process this. In Vel culture, helping an enemy made no sense. Weakness should be exploited, not comforted. Yet here was this human, using precious medical supplies on him without hesitation. The quantum network responded to Sujin's genuine compassion. It responded to Kel's confusion and emerging understanding. For the first time, a Vel felt the network, felt what it meant to care without expecting return. Kel returned to the Dominion changed. He spoke about his experience, about the humans who saved him. Many dismissed his words as weakness, but some listened. Some began questioning whether the Dominion's harsh philosophy was the only way. Meanwhile, Hana's children were growing up in this strange new world. Minho and Jisoo, now 5 years old, attended the first multi-species school. They played with Thex children, Kelrin children, even young Vel whose parents had defected from the Dominion. One day, Minho came home crying. The other children say Mama made everything bad. They say because of you, their parents fight. Hana held him close, feeling the old guilt resurface. Do you think I made things bad? Minho considered this seriously. Teacher says you sang a song. Songs are not bad. Some people think my song caused problems. But you were singing to me and Jisoo. To make us feel safe. He looked up at her with 5-year-old wisdom. That is not bad. That is being a mama. Jisoo, listening quietly, added, Teacher says the song helped people learn to be nice. Like when I share my toys. Hana nearly cried. Her children, too young to understand galactic politics, had grasped the essential truth. She had not tried to change the galaxy. She had only tried to comfort her babies. Everything else followed from that simple act. Ambassador Yoonji called for a galactic summit, 5 years after the original crisis. Every species was invited, even those hostile to humanity. The summit's purpose was not to negotiate treaties or discuss territory. It was to answer one question. What had the architects truly wanted? The summit took place on a neutral station. Hundreds of delegates gathered, representing dozens of species. Hana attended as the director of the Emotional Network Initiative, though she still felt uncomfortable with the title. Yoonji opened the summit with a surprising announcement. We have discovered more architect beacons. Hundreds of them, scattered throughout the galaxy, all dormant, all waiting for the same thing that activated the first one. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Why tell us this? The Rationalist Coalition leader demanded. So humanity can activate them all? No, Yoonji replied. So anyone can activate them. The beacons do not respond to species identity. They respond to emotional frequency. Genuine selfless caring. If you want access to architect technology, learn to care. Really care, not just pretend. You expect us to become weak like humans? A delegate challenged. Hana stood before she consciously decided to. Caring is not weakness. 17 ships came to save me and my children. Those crews knew they would probably die. They came anyway. Is that weakness? Or is that the strongest thing anyone can do? She walked to the center of the chamber. The architects left their technology as a gift and a test. They wanted to find species capable of genuine altruism, of responding to suffering without calculating benefit. Humanity passed that test by accident. We did not know we were being tested. We just did what felt right. Hana gestured to the assembled delegates. Now you know the test exists. You know what is required to pass. The question is, will you try? Will you risk opening yourselves to others' suffering? Or will you stay safe behind your calculations and self-interest? Caliph the Thek stood. I was like you once. I calculated everything, trusted nothing, cared about nothing beyond my own benefit. Then I learned to access the network.